Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson. We're continuing our study of the book of Lamentations, and we're in chapter 4. Chapter 3, we had a lengthy visit and then a brief visit into the comfort that God had to offer. We got to be in the eye of the storm, in the calm of the eye of the storm, and remember that the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. And then we remembered how bad things were. And then God's people cried out from the pit, and God met them there and said, "Don't be afraid," and brought them comfort. But the result of that time, that encounter, that bit of comfort that God brought, was that they were emboldened to ask for revenge. Because as we said yesterday, if we want this to be in a straight line, if we want there to be real growth and a happy ending, it's not going to happen in the verses of this book. It's just not. Their pain is still throbbing. They still want to enumerate their grievances for everyone to see. They still feel absolutely ill-used, not just by their enemies, but we understand the subtext by God Himself, and they want revenge on their enemies. We're going to read chapter 4, verses 1 through 12, back to a straight-up 22-verse acrostic, so that verse 1 begins with Aleph, verse 2 with Beth, verse 3 with Gimel, and on in the Hebrew alphabet. Verses 1 through 12. How dark the gold has become! How the pure gold has changed! Sacred stones are poured out at the corner of every street. The precious sons of Zion weighed against fine gold. How they are regarded as earthen jars, the work of a potter's hands. Even jackals offer the breast they nurse their young. But the daughter of my people has become cruel, like ostriches in the wilderness. The tongue of the infant cleaves to the roof of its mouth. Because of thirst, the little ones ask for bread, but no one breaks it for them. Those who ate delicacies are desolate in the streets. Those reared in purple embrace ash pits. For the iniquity of the daughter of my people is greater than the sin of Sodom, which was overthrown as in a moment, and no hands were turned toward her. Her consecrated ones were purer than snow. They were whiter than milk. They were more ruddy in body than corals. Their polishing was like lapis lazuli. Their appearance is blacker than soot. They are not recognized in the streets. Their skin is shriveled to the bone. It's withered. It's become like wood. Better are those slain with the sword than those slain with hunger. For they pine away being stricken for lack of fruits of the field. The hands of compassionate women boiled their own children, and they became food for them. Because of the destruction of the daughter of my people, Yahweh has accomplished His wrath. He has poured out His fierce anger. He has kindled a fire in Zion, which has consumed its foundations. The kings of the earth did not believe, nor did any of the inhabitants of the world, that the adversary and the enemy could enter the gates of Jerusalem. Why did no one think that? Why did the whole world think Jerusalem would never be breached? And why did the people who lived in Jerusalem believe that? Well, they had a good reason to believe that, because the Assyrians brought an army of 200,000 people and besieged the city of Jerusalem. And on the eve before they were to tear it down, this is the largest invasion force that was ever assembled in the history of the world to this point, exponentially larger than any army invasion force assembled to this point. In the night, one angel killed 185,000 troops, and the Assyrians, the great empire of the world, slinked away back to Nineveh and was never a great empire again, and in a few decades would cease to exist altogether. Yahweh had protected the city once, and everyone felt like, for all their sins, because they were inside those gates of Jerusalem, God wouldn't let anybody in. Well, He did. And this passage talks about the siege and the destruction and the breakdown of everything that happened. every moral code. Compassionate women boiled their own children for food. We don't have that detail until we get to the book of Lamentations. That this went on in Jerusalem. We know that it happened in Samaria when the Assyrians besieged the capital of the northern kingdom. We've already talked about that, how we were able to read about that in Chronicles. But we didn't know that about Jerusalem. And it talks about how people would abandon their children because of the siege and because of the starvation. They would just abandon their children to starve and to die of dehydration and thirst. The jackals treat their kids better. The ostriches treat their babies better. Ostriches were notorious, and their habitat much larger than it is today, were notorious for leaving their eggs in the sand for long stretches, which didn't put their eggs really at risk, but they were known to be neglectful mothers because of that. And he says your sin, you are worse mothers than jackals and ostriches. And he says the sin of the daughters is worse than the sin of Sodom. That's what he says. As bad as things happened at Sodom, to treat your own children this way. And it's that one word that he says, compassionate women boil their own children as food. God brought the invasion force, and he told them ahead of time he was going to. And God told them that they were going to go into captivity. He also told them it was going to be temporary. And he also told them that he was going to bring them back. And he also told them that while they were gone, if they would return and seek him with their whole heart, he would prosper them while they were there. They knew all this. They knew all this. It came from Jeremiah's own mouth. And yet when the moment came, they were still surprised. And it didn't take a minute for all the societal norms to collapse when that Babylonian army surrounded that city and started to tear it down. Okay, we're going to talk about the false prophets next time, beginning with verse 13 of chapter 4. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.